Happy Friday, y'all. July the 25th. About to be finishing up another month. Be going into August. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. I want to welcome y'all to the Daily Reader podcast, where we read from a daily reader or a devotional, and we learn tools. Excuse me. Tools and principles, including but not limited to prayer, meditation, and breath work that help us to stay more present and to live better lives. We meet on here Tuesday through Fridays at 7 a.m. and Saturday through Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're new here, appreciate you being here. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for future content and episodes. It's kind of interesting. I have to adjust my camera usually. It's weird, like I don't know if you ever go live on YouTube, you'll see that the camera, before you go live, your camera is one way, and then when you hit the live button, your camera is another way, so it has to be adjusted, in my experience anyway, just with doing YouTube. I'm not using any like third-party apps to go live, so it actually cuts off a little bit up here. Before when I turn the video on, it looks like everything's showing right, but then after I cut it on, it cuts down to about right here on my certificate. I like to have both my certificates showing. So don't know if y'all can read them that well. I think you can. I did try. I don't really watch myself. I know one of my mentors said don't ever watch yourself. I don't know why he says that, but he's a professional videographer, photographer. But I did watch one of my videos, and I did see that the certificates were readable in one of the videos, and then another video they weren't readable. So who knows, y'all? But let's go ahead and find a stopping point this morning. Whatever you have going on, we'll get ready to go and get started here. Starting out as always, lighting this candle. Come on, there it goes. It's lit. White candles signify cleansing as well as purity. So I'll give you about another 30 seconds before we get started, y'all. Still looking for a solution over here for my lighting. The lighting ain't that well on the left side of my face. So I don't know. I actually have a lantern that I could probably turn on. I'll play around with that. See if it helps any more with the lighting. A little dark over there. I actually have This is actually a bed, y'all. This is a clothing rack, so I have a bed here. This bed actually, if it wasn't for the clothing rack, it actually comes all the way down. And then there's another bunk bed right here. Queen size, actually. Got 2 queen size beds here in my RV. And I find that if I lift this one up, there is some light back here at this window, but it actually glares, so it doesn't look that good. So, all right, if you're just joining us, go ahead and find somewhere safe where you can relax for a few minutes for our relaxation portion this morning. Preferably not driving. If you're driving, definitely don't do this, or just pull over. And we'll go ahead and get started here. So go ahead and close your eyes. If you're somewhere safe, if you're comfortable doing so. And just take some deep breaths. Breathe it in your nose and out your mouth. Settle in this morning, y'all. Settle into the present moment. Where only the now exists. The past is no longer the now. And the future hasn't arrived yet. Continue breathing. Today's virtue is compassion. So just bring compassion to your mind's eye. This can be compassion for yourself as well as compassion for others. And compassion is different than empathy, in that compassion actually, you can understand what a person is going through, or yourself, right? You can always have compassion for something you're going through. But it removes the emotional attachment component. So instead of saying to someone, instead of getting into emotional reaction with someone that you're, say someone you're talking with, say somebody lost a loved one, they passed away. Compassion is, oh, I'm sorry, that must be a really challenging situation you're dealing with there. Versus empathy, which is where you actually get into feeling that emotional state right here, right now, feeling sadness. And then you're like, oh God, I've lost people before too, and that's really tough. It's really challenging, and I'm really sad, and it's tough. It's a really tough situation right now, and you're dealing with, and I understand it because I've been there. Then you actually get sad, right? That's empathy. You actually get sad. And from what I've learned from one of my pastors in the past, the church I used to go to, compassion, you come from a place of power, and then empathy comes from a place of weakness. Not weakness in that you're a weak person, but just it takes your state down, right? It takes you down from happiness, joy, things like that. It brings you into whatever state the other person is in. And I've learned as a health and wellness coach, you really want to avoid that in most cases. You want to just come from compassion and not empathy. Even though it's good to have both, and even though I've been into both, right? Sometimes I'll go compassionate with somebody, and sometimes I'll really get into empathy too. You just can't help it, right? I mean, I just can't help it. I'm a human being. So it does happen. But I've learned to maintain my peace and serenity. Compassion is really a better way versus empathy. Yeah, from my experience. But hey, play around with both, y'all. See what works best for you. But for now, we're going to have compassion for somebody. So it could be you, it could be somebody else. Just go ahead and imagine that person in your mind's eye right now. And just feel compassion for them. Which to me is kind of like love, but also understanding. It's just a general understanding. You have an understanding where this person's at. And can get a sense of that. Now, whether you've been there or not, it really doesn't matter. It's just you want to do your best to really try to understand from their perspective where they're at, right, and what they're dealing with, without getting all emotionally wrapped up in the issue yourself, like it's your issue. Not having to take that on board. Of course, if it is your issue, then you're dealing with what you're dealing with, right? But you could also choose to do compassion instead of empathy, even for yourself. It's a little more challenging, though, for yourself, because usually you're in your muck and you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with. But it is possible, it is doable. It's just a choice, right? It's just a choice of how you want to see things, how you want to react to things. Or respond, I should say. I want to respond and not react to things. That way it's a conscious decision, conscious choice. Okay, let's do one more breath here. Then we'll do the short version of the Serenity Prayer today. So take that breath in, your last breath. Take it deep in your nose, deep as you can. And on the exhale, I want you to do it, blow it out audibly to release any other tension that your body might be holding on to that hasn't already been released. And prayer. God, grant me the serenity, accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You go and open your eyes this morning. Open them back up. I about fell asleep. I just had got up about 30 minutes ago, so. Still a little tired actually from the last couple of days work at FedEx. A lot of y'all know I do FedEx part-time. Give me 1 second. I should check the date again. I think it's the 25th, I believe I said earlier. It is the 25th. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into our reading here. Okay, growing up with two addict parents, I learned to hide from them before the trouble started. By the time I was a teenager, I was trained to the point where I would disappear as soon as I heard the sound of an ice cube hitting the bottom of a glass. Now, years later, the urge to escape can come over me just as suddenly and irrationally. A slight misunderstanding or awkward silence between another person and me is enough to trigger my fear, cause me to run and hide in one way or another. Sometimes I hide in obvious ways like not answering the phone. More often I hide simply by not saying what I really mean so I can avoid becoming the target of expected criticism. Al-Anon taught me to think before I run away from a person, a conflict, or an opportunity to share from the heart. When I react in fear, I give power to the unhealthy part of myself. It tells me it's not safe to be myself and that I'll never be able to change. Today, my search for new solutions to old problems begins with either self-acceptance or change. Excuse me, y'all, got something in my eye here. Probably some sleep or some pollen or something I blew in. Thought for the day. The Serenity Prayer reminds me that I can always count on my higher power for help when I make an effort to face my fears by using the tools of the program. I need courage to change my attitude and behavior. The Serenity Prayer can help me. And that's from the book Alateen, A Day at a Time, page 247. I'll be back, y'all. Excuse me a minute. All right, sorry about that. See, I do remember living with an alcoholic stepdad. I can relate to this reading that we had today. I used to run away a lot. I used to do that a whole lot anytime fusses and fights started between my mom and my one of my former alcoholic stepdads at the time. I would go out in the woods. I'd go camping. I literally, a lot of times I'd live in the woods for a couple of days at a time. Not come home, I'd bring food with me. Stay in a tent, play in the creek. But you know what? I learned a lot from that, right? I learned a lot of different things. I look at the positive side of things. Even though I did run away to get away from like the craziness in the home, fussing and fighting and things like that, I also joined. I got into volunteering for EMS, volunteering for the fire department, volunteering for law enforcement. I did a lot of things. I took something. I guess I took something negative that was going on in my life, and I turned it into something positive. By doing that, right? I learned a lot of skills. Learned a lot of skills in the woods, like camping, how to start fires. Remember using flint and steel to do that. It's fun times, right? But it was something I did to try to escape and try to run. Basically, I did escape. I escaped and ran away from the life at the time, all the unhealthy stuff. So I don't know if I really see that as a bad thing. I think it's more of a positive thing. I mean, there was some negative to it, right? There definitely was some security and safety that I was seeking that I didn't get during those times. Specifically at the time, I think for my mom and my stepdad at the time, the safety, the comfort, and the security. So sometimes, I don't know, sometimes even today, I do notice it doesn't really happen as often, but I do notice I can run sometimes, right? So this is one way we can use the past to be able to grow and kind of see what's going on in our lives. Look at our behaviors in our lives and just see what we do to get away from actual reality of our life, what's going on at the current time. So yeah, definitely looking at that, thinking about that is definitely very insightful to see where we do that. And not really to make us wrong. We're not really, it's not something, I don't think it's something that's wrong. It's just something it's something that we do. There's no need to really judge it, I don't think. But I think I don't know. Even the bullying. I was bullied, growing up and things. I took it all and just did something positive with all that stuff, as much as I could, right? So I think that's pretty powerful that we can do that, and we have the choice to do that. So I don't think. I mean, at least nowadays, I think I've outgrown the need to run from any problems. I don't think I run from any problems or issues. From my current perspective, I face everything, face it head on, ask for help if I need it, and then handle whatever the issue is going on in my life at the time, right? So that's a plus, thank God, right? Because some of that stuff can really, some of us can get into, or some people, I should say some people, but some of us, it's the same thing, can get into running from our lives, and we'll keep running and not face our issues, our problems that we have going on. So it's important that we do that, right? Important we face things in our lives that we need to look at. So instead of taking off and running all the time, right? So y'all take care. I trust y'all got something good out of that today that you can use in your life. Remember, be compassionate today. All day long is compassion, so focus on compassion. For having compassion for yourself, for what you've been through, for what you're currently dealing with, or have compassion for someone else in your life, or others in your life as well, for what they're, and try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? Like it's really easy to sit around and judge other people, pointing fingers at other people all the time. And what I've realized from being in the rooms in the program is when we point fingers at other people, when we point one finger at other people, we're usually pointing 2 or 3 fingers back at ourselves. So that's showing that our judgment towards other people, right? We're judging other people. So that's a character defect, right? Instead of minding our own business, we're minding everybody else's business around us. When I should be taking my own inventory and handling my own business, right? And letting other people have their business, because they have their business, right? They have their own God, and I have mine. So, okay, that wraps it up. look forward to seeing y'all again tomorrow. Really, really appreciate y'all being here. Thanks again. And as always, y'all, let's go ahead. Actually, first, let's blow out the candle this morning. Actually, just now blew itself out, so I don't have to do it. So here we go. Okay. Some wax in there got built up, and looks like that actually put the candle out. So, peace and love, y'all.